Thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of the EIC Marketing Experience. We had a client come to us and we were originally asked to, what we proposed was content marketing, and that's helping produce content, get it out there, and leverage it to help drive leads, which then drives sales. They didn't want that. They wanted everything to be direct response, so everything was phone calls, leads, and everything like that. Over the course of the last couple months, been doing a good job at driving those leads, but it's been mentioned that there might be more opportunity in doing a little bit more. So we went back to what we originally proposed, got a yes. And so basically what we're doing is shifting gears and going very direct response, very buy from us, call us, fill out this form, to more figuring out how to provide value to people who are, looking for their product or service. And so what we've done is kind of gone through, put together some strategies, and kind of what we're going to use this for is to kick it over to Kolton, and he'll kind of let us know what he went through to help make this transition and what we're going to go ahead and lead with. So
like you said, going from direct response to content marketing, they gave us a PDF pretty much to use for our advantage, basically. And in doing so, we're going to use them on ads. So the channel we're going to go with is probably Facebook lead ads and run lead ads on that, or possibly Outbrain, which is a native advertising platform. But mostly I wanted to go with those because Outbrain, they have a lot of audiences that we could rely on or use to our advantage or test them, see what happens. But you can target people based on like their insurance, their income, their interest. We could also use display, which has good audiences. I wanted to ask Dustin about that if he thought we could use those display audiences, because how you could do topic targeting, so you can target people so that the content they're on is only related to the people. The client we have is an addiction service, basically. So we could target those people so that they only see our display ads when they land on content related about rehab or addiction or those type of terms, whatever we set up to be, so that it's not showing up when they're on like ESPN or something like that. So it's actually relative to what it is. Yeah, what do you think about that, Dustin, on using the display for that?
The nature of the industry, can't use retargeting, but there's a couple things that you mentioned that really stick out. One is native advertising, Outbrain. They just have a lot of different audiences. For example, the type of insurance. So someone that has good insurance would be more than likely to qualify and go through their service. And so it's just a platform that has audiences that we can leverage and target, or data that we can target that other platforms don't. And one thing that was interesting is you mentioned Facebook. So if we had this PDF, what would you be doing on Facebook to launch this?
So lead ad is just an ad. Yeah, Facebook shows. It's one of the ads you can run on Facebook that tries to get people's information. That it's a form that people fill out, and it's a name. You could have name, last name, phone number, email.
So basically, what happens is you're going to be scrolling through Facebook, and then there's going to be this ad like you typically see, sponsored, and then we can have something that says sign up, learn more. If we have this PDF that's all about maybe how to identify a loved one is an addict or has an addiction, then we can run an ad that says, hey, here are the top 5 things to help identify that. And then all we're going to do is ask for their name and email, and this is something we're going to lead with. And so typically what happens is they'll see it, they like it, they'll click, and literally the ad will go up. It'll show a form fill where we can choose what questions we want. We can get down to your employer, date of birth, are you married? We can have multiple choice questions. We can ask whatever we want, but essentially when the ad is clicked, a form shows up and we define what it is that we want to get from them. And then once we get the name and the email, we then shoot that PDF over to them. Have you done anything where you've seen that? Have you submitted a lead form before, or have you seen this in real time?
I've seen a lot with like real retailers or clothing stores and stuff like that. They'll run a lot of lead ads to get my email to send me like 15% off codes or something like that. So obviously people love getting discounts on everything. So it's a really easy way to get people's information, to put them in a email sequence.
And what you just said is the exact thing that we're going away from, and more too. Is like you just said, 15% off, purchase. It's all direct response. The difference here is we're not asking you to call us. We're trying to give you information to help you. And so have you ever seen it used where it was more information, or is it all typically salesy?
Typically, I've always seen it salesy, and like usually someone wants your information. It's for probably trying to sell you on something. So it's always been like that, but I love the approach of not using it to sell, because most of the time I feel like people won't give their email because they think all they're going to do is just get a ton of spam and a ton of just junk that they don't want.
Exactly. And this is a great example of just how, just by leveraging the ad, you can just go from pushing and salesy to trying to provide more information or more value. And so, all right, so that's, yeah, awesome. I love that idea. And I think that's an awesome spot to try and get those leads, but also just be able to provide that information. So one quick question, if we're gonna be using Outbrain, like that was cool that we can do that on Facebook. How would Outbrain work?
So Outbrain, they're, like we said, native ads, and how they work is when you're on other web pages or something like that, you see those like sponsored content or related content or like an article that you want to read or something like that on the side. That's what we use. We target people based on that, and then whenever something like that would pop up, it would say sponsored, and it would say like the PDF, like PDF on how to get over addiction or something like that. Whatever's gonna get them to click, they would then click on that ad, and then we need them to land on a landing page. So they would go to that landing page, and then that's how we would get them to fill out a form, and that's how we get their email to send them the PDF. But we could use their audiences. Can you leverage those onto Facebook or no? Because that would be first party data.
Yeah, and that's what we were kind of going through with the tags. Not sure whether we can export the audience data from Outbrain and import it over to, that's something we'll just have to test. And that's something that I would love to figure out, because if we can export that data and leverage it on Facebook, that would be huge because of the household income targeting. There's just a lot more data that you can leverage there than Facebook. So if we can use that data, but then serve the ads on Facebook, that would be huge. So I would love to hear more about that, but let's back up a step. So this native advertising, where do these show up? What do they look like?
They look kind of just like this. There's the square boxes that you see on the side of your, like when you're on a page or something like that, you'll see down there, or on the bottom of when you're reading an article, you'll have a bunch, and then one will say like sponsored or like recommended content for you.
Oh, so these are those things that show up when I'm reading an actual article that say sponsored, or?
Exactly. It's the stuff that, so when you're actually consuming content and like it's native to the platform, so it looks like it's supposed to be there. It's like when people are actively engaging into content, so it's more likely for them to actually want to click on it and continue to go down consuming more of what you're giving them.
Gotcha. So it's just native to the page or the platform that it's on. So let me ask you this. You mentioned trying to get the PDF over to someone. Sounds like someone's reading an article, like a Yahoo article or a business article. Do you think running with the PDF is the best thing, or do you think that there might be some other content that we can leverage for Outbrain specifically, since we know that people are reading a blog or something whenever they see the ad?
Maybe we can add in, if they have a bunch of blogs or something like that they're already posting, we can then serve those to the other people, so it gives them the relevant content of what they're trying to accomplish.
Perfect. So I mean, they have tons of blogs, so maybe instead of, hey, download, like someone's in the mind frame of trying to read an article, like, hey, I got the newspaper open, I don't want to leave the newspaper to go download this PDF, but if I'm reading a newspaper or an article, maybe I'm down to read another article where this is where we can bring in the blog. And so now it's not so salesy, or looks like it's salesy, where, hey, I know you're reading the Wall Street Journal, by the way, download this. It's, hey, we see that you're reading and consuming content, why don't you read this? And then we can maybe contextually place that ad on other blogs or articles that are related to recovery or helping someone out. And so this basically leverages more of their content.
I have a question about that. So with the blogs, like if we did get them to land on it, would we be able to set up like a heat map or something like that to see if like someone read through the whole blog and then use that to an advantage?
Google Analytics, you can set up triggers that show if someone went 25% of the way down, 50, 75, or 100%. And so if they get to 25%, they only saw 25% of the content. We can leverage Hotjar. And so what we can do is if we've identified some of these blogs that we want to send people to, we can put a map on there, and literally it visually shows how far they go down. And so that's a great question, but I would ask you, what would you do with that data?
So in doing so, I would want to grab the people that, if there's a way to do it, grab the people that have consumed, like maybe went down to maybe 80% or the whole 100% of the blog, and just assume they consumed all of that content. Then they're really engageful, and they obviously wanted to read the information and found it useful. That's why they kept reading it. So we could use that and then retarget them with the lead ad if they haven't already seen it. Like if they came off a display ad onto that from the blog, from the display ad, and then we could then retarget them with lead ads to then get their email, so we could then send them the PDF. That's how I think that we could leverage.
So basically what you're saying is if I'm reading an article on the best way to help someone with treatment, and then we serve a native ad on how to identify someone has that, and someone's like, oh yeah, that's actually what I'm looking for, we drive them there. But then from there, we'll see who's actually reading and who's not, but we'll just take the people that are reading, either half of it or the whole thing, and then just say, hey, by the way, here's a PDF, or here's something else. So essentially just using one platform to identify the audience, contextually serving them a blog that's related to what they're already reading. And then the people that get there, instead of asking anyone and everyone to download this, you're just taking the people that are actually reading that article.
That was our idea to get their email. And then once we have their email, there's more we're going to go into after that.
So how would you get your email, or I guess what would you ask to get their email on the blog? Or even, are we going to recommend asking to get their email?
I really think about that. Like maybe at first we can come at an approach, like if you want to get more tips like this on how to overcome addiction, then let us get your email so we can constantly send you that. We can offer it like that maybe. Do you think that would be good?
Yeah, I think so. And that kind of leads us into what I'm gonna ask next is, all right, we got lead ads going. We're landing on a page on a blog, sign up or get more blogs. I guess, what do we do now that we get these emails?
So now that we've got the emails, we want to put them into a CRM so that we can put them into an email sequence and send them emails that will lead them down a funnel to hopefully get them to admit into the institution. But to do so, we need to set up an email sequence. And in the sequence, we think it would be best if there was like 5 emails total. An email sequence is actually when people get your email, they'll put you into a list typically. And then if you get put in an email sequence, they'll send you an email if you do this. And then say you open it. Once you open it, they know that you did that. So then you'll then be sent another email maybe a couple days later being like, oh, you like that? Why don't you check this out? And then you'll get another email later on down the sequence that is like, oh, thanks for checking this out. Now would you want to do this? And it just leads you down a whole sequence of whatever you set it up to be.
Going back to the Google Analytics events where someone watches or looks at 25, 50, 75, or 100, what we're going to do is get HubSpot going, that CRM, as people get into this. So let's say we had that PDF, that Facebook lead ad. As soon as someone fills that out, it goes into our CRM all automatically. We have a predefined 5 different types of emails that we're going to send out. 1 is an intro. This is who we are and this is what we do. Number 2, it explains the services. Number 3, it then gives a testimonial. And basically we tell a story over the course of 5 to 6 days that are all predefined. What got me excited, what you were talking about, is there's that. So that's already predefined. We can also set up campaigns within HubSpot that ties into Google Analytics. So we can tell it if someone gets to a blog page and gets to over 50% of the page, start sending these types of emails. So we could set up automated email campaigns based off of how people are consuming with our content.
That's what I wanted to ask you was, could we take the audience of tracking with the Hotjar map, the heat map, and then retarget those people so we know that they've consumed the blogs and speak to it and be like, oh, you like those blogs and stuff like that.
So we wouldn't use Hotjar. One would be to visually see it, but to actually build the audience, we'd have to use Google Analytics. And so we just, within Google Analytics, set up events that trigger or fire when someone gets, so I mean, you bring up a good point. There are, typically what we say, and with this content marketing, there are micro and macro conversions. And so macro conversion is an overall conversion. So a phone call, someone that actually gets a contact or lead to reach out to a sales team. Basically what we can do is set these up within Google Tag Manager. And so what we do is, 1 is a goal, and those are the macro conversions, phone calls, form fills, live chat, stuff like that. But then what we can do is these micro conversions, and typically these are actions people take that lead to these macro conversions. For example, more people are probably going to convert if they're reading an entire blog. They've consumed more of the content. And so to get this going, we're just telling Google Analytics, hey, fire something whenever they get all the way down the page. And this is just letting us know how many people are actually getting down there. And so we can build that out within Google Tag Manager, define whatever it is we want. And this helps us tell whether people are engaging with our audience and then the people that do.
Yeah, perfect. So the different type of emails I think that we should go about or test right away with it would be, like I said, the 5 email sequence. And I think it would be best if it was, so like a funnel pretty much. In the beginning, like the first email they get, we could just introduce who we are. So like, what facility are we? What services do we offer? Stuff like that. And then the second one could be, who do we help? So a couple days later, after you've already seen us once, we've reached our hand out, made the handshake, first impression, all that. Now you know who we are. And then we send you a second one and it could be, who do we help? So, or we help addicts, we help people that need rehab, people that need help getting over that mental hurdle. And yeah. And the third one, a couple days later, could be, what are some signs of addicts? So maybe it's something for them to reflect on themselves and think like, oh, am I seeing this? Like, maybe I do need help or something like that. They start questioning it and just gets in their subconscious mind and they start thinking about it. And then a couple days later, so now it's already been like a week. So they've been seeing you for the course of like a week now, just hitting their inbox too, which is pretty personal, and showing up on your phone. So then the fourth one could be ways to quit or sober up. So you can hand them the information, like hand them like, this is what you do to overcome addictions. This is what you do to overcome, the mental hurdles. And then the fifth one could be the final ask. It'd be like, all right, we've given you all this information. We've given you how to do it, the tips, tricks, but if you just want to come in, we can do it for you. And that's usually most of the time when people get all the tools to do something, they find out how hard it is to actually do it and don't want to do it. So yeah, it typically works out well. And you're constantly being shown on their phone and they're constantly seeing you email them, and it just feels more personable. It's a lot better than a Facebook ad that isn't as targeted with knowing what they've already seen of you, if that makes sense. But I think that's how we should go about an email sequence, in my opinion.
So yeah, and so where I'm going with this is, this is why it works so well, is everyone goes for that sell. No one, you're not going to get them on the first attempt you reach out. And so what this is literally the difference between you just walking out yelling to everyone, buy from me, and that is direct response marketing, to this content marketing where you are identifying different audiences. You're now creating a conversation that can speak to them, which now they're more inclined to have that conversation. Once you get the yes, which is that first email, now it's a matter of nurturing them and sending them a ton of stuff so that they can see that 20 times. After they've seen you 20 times and all of it has been helpful, then you go in for the ask. And so we are still driving leads and still driving business. Our approach or our conversation with these people is just a little bit different. Like I said, we were running around the city yelling people, hey, come call us. Now we're just saying, hey, let us help you identify. Let us help you figure it out. When you're ready, here we are. And so that's all we're doing. Instead of talking to people, we're listening and having a strategic conversation based off of how they're engaging with us.
At the end of the day, it's technically free marketing. Like if you think about it, once you get their email, you can email them as many times as you want. You can set up as many sequences as you want. You can do as much as you want. Compared to Facebook ads, like you get charged when you show someone an ad. Like you get charged when you do that. Email marketing is free. You don't get charged when you send an email. So yeah, it just takes the upfront work and what you want to say. And yeah.
This next week, we're going to get it up and going. And so in about a month, we can talk about what it looks like, what it's all driven. We know how much revenue, how many sales we've driven so far each month. And so this will be good proof in the pudding to see whether all the stuff we talk about is actually real.
Cool. Thank you so much for tuning into this latest episode of the EIC Marketing Experience. It's actually our new segment we just started up, and we talk about marketing tips, the strategies that we go about, and pretty much just how we go about marketing. If you liked everything that was said, you can hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and also hit that notification bell if you want to get notifications straight to you whenever we drop a video. And yeah, maybe you have a comment or some question about marketing you want us to ask on the next episode. We can do that as well. Just leave it down below. And then yeah, till next Wednesday. Let's get it.